Welcome to our business show here on Uxbridge FM. Our guest today is Owais Saad from TaxAssist Accountants. Hi there.
Hi, Steve. Thank you for inviting me today. Really, it's a pleasure to be on your show.
Nice to have you. Yeah. Now, TaxAssist has many branches around the country, but you've recently opened a new office in Uxbridge to serve the local area. How long have you been involved in the accountancy business yourself?
So we're proud to say we're second generation. So as a company, we've been going on for 19 years. And Uxbridge is our third branch that we have now recently opened to serve the local community in Uxbridge. And what a lovely, welcoming place it has been, Steve. So thank you to all the locals that have made us feel so welcome.
Now, today we're going to look at some of the accounting basics, which is probably about my level, I think. I can probably keep up with that. We're going to focus on small business, perhaps, and look at some basic accounting tips and some common issues that pop up.
Sure.
And maybe even look at some basic record keeping and maybe a bit about making tax digital and what that means.
Sure. So again, more than happy to cover whatever you would like to cover, whatever your listeners want to hear. And I think the topics that you did mention over there are topics that seem to worry a lot of local businesses and local individuals, because the finances might not necessarily be the strengths of every individual out there.
No.
So yes, more than happy to help. That's what we're here for.
And is it an urban myth, or how many people these days really turn up at your door with a shoebox full of receipts just a few days before their tax return's due?
Well, it's funny that you've actually raised that. So a lot the self-assessment deadline is, as you may or may not know, is 31st of January. And often enough, we always have every year someone turn up on the umpteenth minute, literally maybe at 1 o'clock with a shoebox full of scrumpled receipts for us to entertain ourselves with to meet the deadline. So no, it's not a myth. It actually does happen. And sometimes it also takes the form of a plastic bag with other items other than receipts turning up in it. But yes, it does happen, and it's more common than you actually think.
So you'd have to scan those in, would you, into some sort of system?
Well, the first task is actually straightening out the receipts and seeing whether they're readable, because sometimes what happens is if you keep a receipt for too long, it starts losing the carbon on the receipt. So information starts disappearing, especially if it's been in your wallet for a while, or it's been in a place where it's been rubbing against another item. So sometimes you'll find that over a course of a year, the receipt just doesn't have the information, and we'll see a blank receipt, or it might get torn, or it's had water on it. So the conditions aren't always great. So we'd have to first go through the receipts and make sure that they are in the right condition to be scanned. But then, yes, that would be the next task, effectively, to bookkeep those receipts, either manually or through the digital processes that we now have embarked upon.
So just run through, what is the problem of accounting your business by putting receipts in a shoebox? Why is that a problem?
I mean, where do I start with this? So effectively, what we need to understand is the conventional method that was and has been serving us so well for many years, but is not fit for purpose anymore. We're in a day and age where information, real-time information, is really important, and not just for tax purposes, which a lot of businesses feel that accounting, record keeping is for, but also to help you plan for your business. If you've got a conventional method, it often involves seeing a client, getting your, if it's a one-man band, then going back to the office, getting an invoice together, sending it out, then checking up later on an email or in post, for example, whether you've got a confirmation back of the purchase order, etc., filing that invoice, making sure that order is complete. If you've taken deposits, then updating that invoice manually. It can become, and these are just some of the problems that business owners have out there. They spend more time record keeping than they would do actually being out there. And a successful business owner will actually say, well, hold on a second, my time is worth X amount. Okay, I charge per hour X, but I'm spending majority of that time when I can actually digitalize that whole process. So there's a fundamental problem with having just a shoebox in plastic bags. For example, cash flow. How can you plan for your cash flow when your cash flow is tucked away in a shoebox somewhere? You just can't do it. You need to have the ability to know exactly what's coming in and what's going out. Business, you have unforeseen costs. I mean, yourself, Steve, you run a lovely, and may I say, congratulations on this premises.
Thank you.
It's such a pleasure to have such a recording studio in the heart of Uxbridge. It's and for all of your viewers, you must come down and visit this place. It's a real pleasure to have in this heart of this community. So thank you for inviting me down today.
Yeah, thank you.
But, just unforeseen expenses. Like, you're a business owner. You might have all of a sudden an expense that you haven't planned for.
Yeah, something breaks or, it's your tools, your painter or your plumber.
Exactly.
Your van goes wrong or whatever.
But, Steve, what happens if I asked you, because I can see that you've invested in this place, you've got equipment which is high tech. What happens if that was an equipment that has just gone down and has stopped working? And what impact would that have on you as a business owner?
Yeah, you have to go out and hire something else, or hop on the website and get something in pretty quick, don't you? But as you say, if you've not planned, you've got some emergency fund of cash to cover that cost, you're stuck, aren't you?
Exactly. So how would you monitor that? If, let's say, you needed to spend £1,000 or £2,000 on getting a new camera or a new mic, how would you do that?
I suppose you dip into your credit card and buy it on credit, wouldn't you?
Yes, and hopefully not after the Christmas shopping, I hope, because my credit card would have probably been maxed out after that. But
I think mine says Amazon all the way down.
Well, you're adopting digitalisation, hey? But a lot of people would probably dip into the bank account or something like similar to yourself. But let's say you had a tax payment or another salary payment thereafter. That's where the cash flow issues happen. So you need a system which allows you to prepare for any disaster, any unforeseen expenses that might come up, any taxes. But again, if you rely on staff, for example, Steve, to fulfill your contracts, for example, if you're a builder and you've got staff that you've got plasterers or brickies or for whatever reason, you need to pay staff. That's a cost that you can't afford to miss. Okay, so again, you need to make sure on a monthly basis you've got that. And the conventional method has been to literally swing it. Okay, and unfortunately with the every 10, 15, 20 years we might have a heavy recession come through. We're just recovering from one back on the back end. Some may argue in 2015 with a lot of government funding being cut, and that's again transponded across. So you need to keep on top of your expenses, and digitalization will give you that information real time to be able to make real decisions on the spot. So it's not just for tax purposes, it's to analyze your finances effectively. So it's a tool that you need to start embracing to create flexibility in your business, because a lot of business, our history is full of businesses who just are not up to date with what the climate is changing around them, the business environment, and that doesn't create flexibility. And before you know it, they're down. I mean, if I took a photo of our high street just literally 10 years ago, okay, how many names have just disappeared?
Yeah. Tens, yes.
Yeah.
Tens of names.
There you go. So, so there's a lot of problems with conventional methods, but also a lot of positives that come out of it.
I mean, there's obviously if you're transitioning to a digital method, people might think, oh, it's going to cost me, £25-30 a month to sign up to some of these apps. But when you add up your hourly time as a builder or as a plumber or whatever, it's got to be worth it, hasn't it?
Yeah, no, definitely. The biggest limited resource we have as individuals is time. So, you've only got a set amount of hours in the day. You either do that gathering receipts and putting them in a shoebox and then going through them yourself and totaling up, or you could spend that same amount of time, literally getting business, getting out there, marketing your business, getting new contracts in. So it's a balance between the two. I mean, it's not going to work for everyone. Don't get me wrong. And you need to do what's right for yourself. But there's a solution out there for everyone. And that's where a good accountant will accommodate for that person.
And the industry is obviously moving from manual, the shoebox method or books with accounting into digital. I mean, what are the benefits then of going digital? Obviously, you're not going to have a shoebox to look after full of receipts. But there's obviously more to it than that, isn't there?
Yeah, no, definitely. So again, like I said, the industry is moving, and often enough, the reservation people have in adopting digitalization is they think the costs involved of transferring into a digital record keeping is immense. But again, and it can be, depending on the size of the organization, depending on the system, because there could be training involved, etc. But in the long run, it is definitely, with a good system, it is much more efficient to adopt digitalization at an early stage. But for small businesses, it shouldn't be too problematic. For small to medium businesses, there's already softwares out there that you can use. Training is the usability on some of these softwares is so good. Okay, you could self-teach, YouTube videos out there where you could learn. There's training events which you can go to. But the big thing is just embracing the change. A lot of businesses need to realize that either they embrace the change willingly right now, or they get forced into it, and then it could be slightly more problematic or even detrimental. But the other thing, the other reservation is IT literacy. I mean, even myself, coming into my 40s soon, but computers had just come around and were adopting, the changes that we were. But even I'm sometimes hesitant to take on a new software. I don't know how you are, Steve, in terms of...
I suppose our generation also worries about security, don't we? We're thinking we're taking all these pictures on our phones and we're putting them into the cloud. It's quite secure, important information that's being stored. You do hear about security breaches and things.
Yep.
That's obviously a worry as well.
Yep.
But
I mean, that's a really, really important point that you raise. So again, security is something that you need to take very seriously as a small business, because again, if you're dealing with members of the public, you should really have the right certification, i.e. data protection certification in place. One of the things that we had recently affect the UK market was GDPR. But a lot of the softwares are GDPR compliant. They hold the information in an encrypted cloud-based system, and you should always ask those questions when adopting a new system. What is the security? I know even two-factor security is a good method. Okay, so having a two-factor authentication. What that basically means is you sign on normally using a password, but then you might get a text on your phone, and then you need to input that code onto your system. So softwares know out there that it's happening. It's out there. It's happening. But that's even more the reason, because it's safer than having the items unencrypted, probably kept on a desk somewhere. Your invoices, it's more detrimental to have it that way.
It's very it's interesting, isn't it? Because let's think about a package that I use. I'm familiar with something called Tide, TIDE.
Yep.
That links to a bank account.
Yep.
It's all very tidy, and it learns. You scan a receipt in, say for parking, and the second time you scan it in, it learns that receipt is allocated to a parking header. That's quite clever, and there's all kinds of features like that, aren't there? Do you recommend packages yourself, or does your company have one that is you always use and you?
So again, first of all, hats off to you, Steve, for embracing digitalisation yourself over
I'm
there.
a bit of a geek, I have to say.
So again, just having a look at the software, there's a lot of softwares out there, and there's whilst it does have what we call high barriers to entry out there because the investment of having a good software is high, there are a lot of softwares out there. The key thing is to just make sure that they are compliant and they do what you need them to do with the ease of use. Again, we work with a lot of softwares. Our official partner as TaxAssist is QuickBooks, okay? And QuickBooks has been a player for a long while. But again, there's nothing stopping you for the right business to use Xero out there. There's Sage is, again, a conventional one. They've, again, updated their software recently. For us, the important thing is choosing the right software. We can offer that to our clients at discounted rates anyway, but it doesn't matter what you use. Just start using it somewhere, as long as it's fit for purpose for what you do and it's compliant, okay, and the ease, because it's going to save you those seconds that ultimately save you those minutes, that ultimately save you those hours and days. Like you said, you've taken out time. You've gone to parking, for example. It's picked that receipt up second time, saved you maybe 10, 15 seconds. Yeah. Before you know it, okay, if you have a batch of receipts, 100 receipts maybe for an average sole trader, I'm just a figure on top of my head over there, you're going to be saving yourself that amount of time. Which you can then spend having wonderful conversations. And
analysing, you can probably do some analysis, trends and things that are going on in the business. Yeah,
so a lot of the softwares, accounting softwares, do give you what I like to say, a basic analysis. So they'll give you the analysis that you need to conduct yourself on a day-to-day basis. Analysis is one of the things I urge all businesses to do. And again, don't just wing it if you're inexperienced. Often enough, I find experienced business owners coming to us say, yeah, I've priced a job for maybe, £2,000. What was the basis? Well, the material's kind of like about, X amount, and therefore we have a sum of X amount. But when I actually say, well, your books are telling us for every pound you're earning, the business is making a profit of only 2p. In some cases, loss make. They say, that's probably where my cash is going, right? I felt this, and all of a sudden the symptoms start coming out. So you need to know what we call benchmarks or KPIs, key indicators, that you should have relevant to your business that you can track performance with. So the key performance indicators, yes. And every business will have it. And I'm glad to see that your software will also have that as well, Steve.
I suppose if you're choosing an off-the-shelf package, the well-known ones, they'll all be compliant, and you see new ones coming out all the time. There's one called Starling that I saw on the tube the other day, looked quite impressive. I suppose there's more advantages than we think, aren't there? I mean, say you're a painter or decorator, you turn up at the client's house, you can do a quote on the app very easily, have that quote with them as you leave. And the same with the invoicing. If you're used to paper invoicing, that the option could be then, the minute you've left the job, you've invoiced the job. So the 30 days or whatever, it starts from that point rather than a week later or whatever.
With paper invoicing, the amount of invoices that I've seen that have had cross marks against them where you've negotiated something, the final deal ends up in something else, and there's just scribbles. Oh no, actually, so the invoice will say £3,000. Actually, there's a cross against it and says no, it's actually 2,500, and another cross against it saying actually now it's gone back up to 2,750 on a piece of paper is unbelievable. But yes, you're very right. On a digital software, Steve, it is absolutely. It gives that professional look because you can send out estimates, which you can clearly define what your terms are. And then, again, you can change the quotation dependent on whether you're adding more services to it. The repetition is deleted. That's the key. The repetition of having to do things again and again and again is deleted, and it's just a single transaction. And then once it gets accepted, a click of a button, it becomes an invoice. And that's just, again, how amazing is that when one of your clients comes to you and you give a quotation within an hour? I've had providers, I don't know whether you've had, certainly some names come to mind, which I won't mention, where, I've waited 3-4 weeks to get a quotation. And you're begging them saying, hello, you came and saw me, where's the quotation? Whereas when you walk out from a customer, you can on your phone literally grab the business, here's the quotation. That gives you competitive advantage. And that's something that you should not underestimate the power of. Our softwares we've got very high caliber software that we use, which is, again, easy to use, but it has so many different options tailored to your business, and we provide the training for that, the basic training for that, as it stands. And what that allows people to do is keep records on their phones, and then if they lose the receipt, they lose the receipt. Okay, it's kept there, it's there. And it's compliant, and it just eradicates that whole duplication, or, for example, losing stuff, because we often find, especially from the trade sector, i.e. the construction trade sector, that receipts are going missing and they're not claiming the amounts that they should.
Especially if you're going from, say, a sole trader and suddenly you expand to 2 or 3 people, all with receipts in their back pockets. The option of using a phone and scanning those in and they all go into a central app must be much better than scribbled up receipts in people's back pockets, surely.
100%. I mean, again, a good accountant will actually help the client to synchronize the apps that they offer so that they're all singing from the same hymn sheet. And if you're having to key into 3 different apps, then it just defies the whole purpose, doesn't it? You want a system where you can issue an invoice and it's accounted for in your main software, and at the same time you take a photo of your receipt and you don't have to key in what that photo is, what the as we call it, the ledger or the nominal ledger or the actual that it goes into. You can define what the subcategory is. Okay, so if you bought, for example, stationery, it goes into that right stationery, but then the next time you purchase from that same shop, that same stationers, you don't have to tell the system it was stationery. You literally can just publish it then and there. And
that's pretty clever, isn't it, actually, that it actually reads the numbers on the receipt that you photographed.
Yeah, 100%. And again, this has been an area of development for a lot of companies out there. But we're very confident in the company that we adopt and have a relationship with, that they have spent a lot of money developing this software. In fact, they developed it ahead of some of the big players, and it's been rolled out across to all of the franchisees in TaxAssist to adopt and pass on to their client base, which represents 70,000 plus clients right now.
Wow.
definitely, it's making life easy. We as a company embrace that change as well. So firsthand, it's made our staff. We're not reliant on staff passing us the information. They can take photos from their phone, and it will synchronize. For example, there's advancements in giving clients. I don't know whether you've heard of Soldo. I'm not advocating or in any shape or form, but there might be many other companies. But there's cards out there that people give for petty cash. Before, they used to give physical cash receipts. You come, you keep them in a till box, and then
my Lord, yes.
Yeah. You think it's a thing of the past, but it's not. But now you get digital statements using these prepaid cards that you can have. The receipts are all factored in. So you need to embrace that change.
I do have experience of petty cash tins, and the petty cash book would never reconcile with the amount of cash in the petty cash tin. It wasn't like a criminal thing. It wasn't, it was just, it never used to balance. So the option of using a card like Solder is, it's got to be a massive improvement, surely.
Yeah, no, definitely. I mean, the box that was kept in front of me was actually my cookie tin, as they used to hold it. The last thing you want to do is open that and find that you've got receipts in there and the cookies have disappeared. So,
but even the option when you're entertaining clients and things, it's always embarrassing when you have to pay on your own card and your own card doesn't go through for some reason. Just to give someone the company's Solder, for example, the Solder card, and say, yeah, go and use that. It's much easier than having staff use their own money.
But again, just if you had to if we just talk that through for 1 second, just imagine if you need to give your clients, your staff cash to just buy something from maybe Poundland, let's say, for example.
Yeah.
You'd have to go to the till. You need to take out cash. You need to account for that cash coming out. Then you give them the cash. They then go and buy the item, bring it back. They've got now a hard receipt that they then give to you, that you then need to give to the accounts department. They've got the change, which you then put in the till box, which we talk, or the cookie box, former cookie box.
Yeah.
And then you need to account for that at the end of the accounting term. So that's just me simplifying it there, really. But and what happens if they use their own money and then they provide you, then you need to reimburse them, and then you need to account for that. It becomes a little bit messy. So and it often involves a lot of your time as a business owner. Yeah. So you can give them a limit on that card. It's prepaid, okay, so you can take it away at an instant, at a pin drop. But the key thing is that you're saving yourself time, and things are accounted. You could do that whole process and in less than a tenth of the time. Literally, the time it takes for them to go and buy the item and come back, all the accounting is done.
Yeah, it's on the system. Yeah,
it's all on the system, accounted for.
So we keep hearing this phrase tax digital, don't we? And making tax digital. Obviously, you can't work with the shoebox method with a digital tax system. Explain what that means. What is tax digital?
Tax digital. Okay, so leading up to tax digital, a lot of people didn't even know what tax digital was, including some accountants out there, actually, until it actually came into place. And what tax digital is it's a government-led initiative, if you want to call it, or program or compliance, whereby starting off with VAT threshold clients, so that's 85,000 and above, who are subject to VAT, have to submit their accounts using specific software to the revenue, in simple terms. Before, what we could do is we could do the totals. We then fill in a VAT return form online or manually, and we would hand that in. Now we have to use a specific software where all the inputs, so for example, all the sales entries that you make feed into this software. So it's all itemized. And that gathers the information and submits that same box of information, but does it digitally. And the idea behind it is it increases the accuracy of record keeping, but it also has successively according to the revenue, resulted in higher taxation collections as well, which is probably why they brought it out in the first
less
place.
Staff, probably.
100%. But there's huge plans to roll that out across other sectors or businesses. For example, there was talk of by 2021 getting corporation tax to also fall under the same bracket of making tax digital, businesses and landlords, etc., etc. And it's always under constant review because of Brexit. There's been all sorts of delays happening. But as it stands, it came into action last April, whereby VAT clients above 85,000 have to submit in a certain manner. And that will again be rolled out with some future dates yet to be published by HMRC in concrete. But yes, there's a huge focus on digitalization for the revenue.
And I suppose I guess you could do that yourself as a trader, but ideally you'd go through your accountant to submit that.
Well, the straightforward answer is as a limited company, first and foremost, as an example, or even forget the entity type, VAT is a calculation of inputs and outputs, okay? And that's in its simplistic form. However, getting something wrong has a far larger implication. There could be exemptions to certain items. There could be certain VAT percentages that apply to specific products versus others. And the matter can get complicated, especially if your book starts to grow. And again, it comes back down to the time versus cost benefit. An accountant does that day in, day out. They have the professionalism to be able to do that. And it's like, Steve, if I was to record, like we were saying, on my phone, on my Samsung, it will do the job, but will it do it to the standard that you required to publish it and have a proper, not everyone's going to have the mics that you do. Not everyone's going to have the camera set up that you do in this absolutely fantastic place. You do need for example, the quality of work. For example, if I was to record on my phone, I might have a lot of echo.
Yeah.
All right. And likewise with that, if something goes wrong, it's only once it goes wrong that you realize that everything else will follow on. Then you need to do adjustments and et cetera, et cetera. So we always recommend that, if you're not good with that, for some people they're good with figures, so hey ho, okay. But for others it might not be the case, and definitely we would suggest using an accountant in those circumstances.
Yeah. Well, let's check out some resources that people can head to. Maybe.
Yeah.
There's the TaxAssist website. If you head to taxassist.co.uk/accountants/Uxbridge. There's some loads and loads of information on there about accountancy and small business. And there's the TaxAssist Facebook page as well. Lots of news to follow on there as well.
Yes. And a recent visit from the Chancellor, actually. So we were, he came and visited our head office, again, as a consortium of businesses that we hold. We've got over 70,000 businesses that we represent. So it gives us a little bit of a voice in front of our fellow Chancellor over there. I hope he takes away some of our recommendations.
What would be great, because it's been really interesting learning about all these rules and things and apps for small businesses. If you could come back maybe on a regular basis and chat to us. If we get some questions perhaps on the Facebook page, or if you get questions on your Facebook page maybe from people who want to know about accountancy or the right apps to use or whatever really. We can talk about that in future chats, maybe.
Yeah, no, definitely. It's been a pleasure to come down and speak to yourself, Steve, and hopefully it's been beneficial for your listeners as well. And likewise, if they've got any questions.
So there's the website, and then there's also a phone number. Do you want to give us that?
Yes. So the phone number is 01895 28 444. Okay, so if they contact us directly on there, we can help them with any issues that they may have. If they quote UF10, okay, that's quote UF10, so that's Uxbridge FM. If they're new clients, subject to terms and conditions, they get a 10% discount off.
Oh, wow.
For being one of your listeners. So that's happy days.
01895 528 444.
Correct.
Well, thanks so much, Joyce, for coming in today. It's been really interesting. I've learnt a lot, and I shall definitely not be putting my receipts into a shoebox.
Well, thank you very much. And once again, Steve, thank you for calling me down to your wonderful, wonderful premises, which I'd like to congratulate you on with the amount of time and effort you've put in. It looks like it's taken a fair few weekends away from yourself as well. And again, thanks to your listeners as well. So we're more than happy to help them with any query that they may have.
Great stuff. We'll see you soon.
See you soon. Till next time.
Bye.
Thanks.